Okay, it's 6 o'clock. I like to get things started on time, and we have a bunch of things. I know a lot of folks that want to talk tonight, and we want to hear from everybody. My name is John Potter. I'm the town manager, and thank you all for coming out tonight. There is few seats still up here if people want to sit down. There's also room up in the mezzanine if anybody wants to spread out up there. So welcome everyone. Thank you. I can tell you all are tracking along on this project very closely. Appreciate that. I should check with BCTV. We're good? Okay. So we are on BCTV tonight. Town staff have embedded the YouTube video directly on the homepage of the website, so people can see the link via brattleboro.org. We did try to find an ALS interpreter for this evening, but couldn't locate one. So BCTV is doing machine interpreted auto captioning available when it's streamed live over YouTube. People can enable auto captions on YouTube by going to your account, opening the account menu, clicking on settings, selecting playback and performance, and checking always show captions, then save. Come on in and get settled. We're going to get going here now. And I wanted to talk, first of all, about what we're planning to cover tonight. I think that for those who've been following this project, you know that back in May, the select board approved a project plan for how we were going to examine this issue of Fire-EMS transition in the town. And as part of that project plan, this public forum was scheduled way back in May. And so now we've gone through a lot of meetings with the select board, and we're finally here to engage with everyone that wanted to come tonight to talk and try to understand each other and try to understand where everyone is coming from on this issue. So this is not a select board meeting. It is a staff presentation and a public forum. And that's what we had planned back in May and are now going to do that tonight. So, four main things that we want to cover this evening. First, I'm going to go over ground rules, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the goal of this public forum, what we're trying to accomplish this evening. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to hear a management team perspective from the town's management team that this issue affects all of us very closely, and so you'll hear from them tonight. Then we will move into a public forum, and we would very much like to hear the perspective of everyone in the room. And following that, we will go over next steps on this project so that everyone knows like kind of what happens next and how we're going to, how that's all going to roll out. So first of all, ground rules. As I said, this is a staff presentation and a public forum, not a select board meeting. I know we will all be well behaved this evening. We're tackling what is an emotional issue for many people, and I think that we should all respect that. It's okay to feel angry or frustrated, but it's not okay to lash out or speak derisively toward anyone else. That's not what we want to be doing tonight. We want to be understanding. Everyone in this room cares a lot about Brattleboro, so give others the benefit of the doubt that they are acting in the best interests of the town and not their own self-interest. No decisions are being made tonight, so the stakes are low here this evening. So I'm hoping that will allow us to engage in discussion and a conversation. It is a time to be curious. It is a time for discovery and for learning, for understanding and honestly seeking to know why people are thinking the way they do. The goal tonight is not to agree. It's to gain a deeper understanding. Everyone is expected to conduct themselves in a courteous, professional, and civil manner, and any threatening or harassing language, slander, threats of violence, any of that sort of thing that is not to be tolerated. The town has a zero tolerance policy for bullying and harassment, and that will be observed tonight. So please, I invite you to actively listen to everyone speaking. Speak one at a time, and I will help you do that. And from your experience, not from generalizations. We really want to hear from you, your experience. In the interest of time, if we start hearing similar comments over and over again, we will shift to ask you to bring forward only new thoughts to the table. But we may not need to do that. We live in a good, open-minded, and kind community, and it's okay if we all disagree on some things here and there. That's fine. So those are the ground rules. Are there any questions about any of that? If not, then, and you're willing to observe these, please join us as we work together to sort out this EMS business. I wanted to, so the first thing is, I was going to talk about the goals for this meeting and just go over those. And before I do that, I wanted to just express some gratitude. I want to thank the town staff who are here outside of normal working hours for the most part. I want to say that I'm grateful to the members of the public who are so really awesomely engaged on this topic and care so much about the future of the town. So grateful to you. I'm also grateful to the two private companies that have given us some EMS alternatives to consider, and to the town staff team that has put together an EMS alternative for the municipal alternative to also consider. Does anyone here want to express any gratitudes of their own?
I'm Carol McManus, live in Brattleboro, and I just want to thank you all for your ongoing support and trying to figure this out.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to also thank everybody for coordinating this, but mostly the fire department and rescue. This is about.
Thank you. Okay. All right, good. So, oh, we got another? Yep. Oh, sound?
Make sure everyone speaking uses the microphone. Or else people
Okay.
won't be able to hear it online.
We have a couple of microphones tonight. If we don't speak into the microphones, people at home can't hear us. We're going to speak up here first, and then when we talk out in the audience, Patrick is going to help move the mics around. So make sure when you talk that you speak into the microphone. Okay. So tonight, the goals. What are we trying to accomplish in this public forum? We are not going to take a deep dive into comparing the alternatives. We assume most of you have been following along. There are some, on your seats is a sheet that summarizes the information that the staff has put together previously for the select board. So that is there for you to refer to if you need that tonight. A second goal is to hear from the town management team on a possible recommendation to the select board for next Tuesday night. And this team of people here works together very closely every day to bring services to the town of Brattleboro. And the decision of what the select board chooses to do is very important to each and every one at this table. Another goal that we have is to hear from anyone what they think about what this team thinks. We want to try to get beyond the emotional level and really understand what you think is best for Brattleboro and why. I'm going to be looking to understand why you think that. So if you have thoughts, please think through them very clearly so that everyone in this room can understand why you're thinking the way you are. My own selfish goal as town manager is to hear how the town could make a better recommendation to the select board by the end of the week in advance of their meeting on September 19th. So I really want to build off of all the great staff work that has been done and really hear your response to that information. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Patrick Moreland to start off, and everyone's going to introduce themselves as they go down the line. I know you probably know many of these people. I do have one quick question.
When they introduce themselves, could they please state where they live, what town their residence is in?
We have an introduction planned, and it is, people are going to introduce their names, their title, and how long they've been serving the town of Brattleboro. Oh, if they choose to disclose that, they can.
Good evening, everybody. I'm not used to holding a mic, so it may take a moment for me to calibrate this just right. Can you hear me all right? Excellent. Thank you. I look around the room, and I think I recognize at least 90% of the audience here. I think I know most of you. There are a couple I don't know. For those of you I don't know, my name is Patrick Moreland. I'm the assistant town manager. I've been working for the town. I started in 2011, just before Tropical Storm Irene. By the way, I live in the town of Marlboro and have for about 25 years. Let's see, my role in EMS, obviously I'm not an EMS provider. I'm not a EMT or a paramedic or anything like that. I don't work for the fire department. My role in EMS is really one of administrative oversight of the fire department. And in working with John and with Sally Nix in the HR department to establish expectations and to build a culture of cooperation amongst our public safety staff. So that's really, a few steps removed from the delivery of EMS, but that's sort of the role that I find myself playing. I've got a statement I've prepared. I'm going to try not to read it, although it took me a while to put it together, so I think it's useful to have some notes here. After reviewing the proposals that the town received on August 29th, and after follow-up discussions with the two third-party vendors, I think really there are only two possible options. The shared hybrid model submitted by Rescue Inc. and the municipal model. The proposal for a dedicated, fully staffed model submitted by AMR of Massachusetts is, in my judgment, not the right program for Brattleboro. BFD personnel have responded to every call for EMS over the past 14 months, and that experience makes it crystal clear why 3 ambulances are needed to serve the town of Brattleboro in a dedicated model. Unfortunately, the proposal from A&R includes a single ambulance to serve the town of Brattleboro. So in many ways, in my judgment, it's down to just 2 options. But really, there's very little comparison between the two. In my judgment, I believe we have a fantastic opportunity in the municipal model. I'm prepared to support a recommendation to the select board for making the municipal option the preferred EMS alternative, and I'd like to explain why. It comes down to 4 basic issues: good patient care, sound finances, unified approach to public safety, and accountability to the public. The first and most important and most obvious concern is patient care. Without confidence in the quality of the patient care being delivered, there's no point in continuing to look at any particular model. Brattleboro Fire personnel have been participating in EMS since the year 2000, and since July of 2022, we have served as the primary provider of EMS in a partnership with Golden Cross. Responding to all calls for service, ALS and BLS, in total, BFD responded to 3,042 calls for EMS in fiscal 23. It's important to recognize that the work being performed isn't performed independently. It's performed under the supervision of a doctor who oversees EMS District 13. It is also true and important that our EMTs, our AEMTs, and our paramedics are state certified. On more than one occasion over the last 14 months, a gentleman named Dr. Storn met with the select board, and during his visits, his views on the new approach, how it was being rolled out, and how it was being delivered were presented to the board. His observations reinforce, for me, what I believe I already knew, that the personnel at Brattleboro Fire were taking this responsibility very, very seriously. And together, they were committed to an approach characterized by continuous review and ongoing improvement. I have full confidence that when the town responds to an EMS call, that we are sending trained, capable, and compassionate staff. I've seen this level of care delivered firsthand, and with it, I've been very, very impressed. The next concern relates to the finances of EMS and how any new model of service might impact the town's general fund budget. Early in the spring, we began to examine how to develop estimates for potential revenue. This work hasn't been possible in previous years. We didn't have access to the data. But with a new partnership with Golden Cross, the data was readily available. Today, we know very well our payer mix. We know the breakout between ALS and BLS calls. And when combined with the known call volume and using assumptions for billing rates, we can develop reasonable estimates. The preferred model of municipal EMS would have us transition to 3 platoons of 10 staff. Currently, there are 3 platoons of 8. These would be cross-trained firefighters, EMTs, AMTs, and paramedics, and would also include a new position for an EMS supervisor. These 7 new employees, along with a series of additional other operating expenses, additional supplies, fuel, provider assessment, capital replacement, etc., would add significant new cost to the general fund. But it would also position the town to be able to receive reimbursement revenue. Our analysis shows that the net impact to the general fund in fiscal 25 would be a savings, meaning that the extra revenue would more than compensate for the additional cost. These estimates are based on assumptions. Yes, that is true, but reasonable assumptions. And those assumptions lead us to realize that the savings would be somewhere between $50,000 and $150,000 next year. Compare this to the shared hybrid model, there's very little comparison. Moving forward, we would need to spend and devote some serious time to policy development, making decisions about capital equipment, setting billing rates, etc. But even if these decisions that the select board will make deviate from staff's assumptions, and those decisions reduce the level of savings, we're clearly looking at a model that does not add new cost to the general fund. At worst, its impact is neutral. What really excites me, though, about the potential for a municipal EMS program is the value of what I would call unified public safety response. All of the public safety services, police, fire, EMS, and public works, working together, working cooperatively, and working for one customer, you, the public. I'm not a first responder, but I've been at a number of emergency scenes over the years, and one thing that's always impressed me is how the silos that define each department seem to vanish at an emergency scene. Again and again, our departments will drop everything. What do you need? How can we help? I've witnessed police officers rolling out fire hoses at fire scenes, doing work that really isn't police work, but it's in support of the emergency at hand. I feel very comfortable seeing the municipality pay a more comprehensive role in EMS. We have worked hard in the town manager's office to build a team culture based on cooperation for the good of the public at its very core. I am confident that this transition would add value to our services. Finally, I'd like to state my preference for essential emergency services being managed and delivered by a public entity. Don't get me wrong, not all services are essential services, and the public sector is not always the right solution. But for essential services, I believe it is the right choice. Private companies can, of course, deliver high-quality EMS, but they can never match the transparency and accountability to the public that the services of local government can provide. Our select board meetings are open to the public, open to all the public. Our finances are open to all for inspection. And our elected representatives have a duty to anyone and anyone, everyone and anyone in Brattleboro, not just to Brattleboro residents or taxpayers or to a particular membership. Delivering essential services is what we do as local government. This essential service is one that I believe should remain at this table. Are there any downsides? Yes. There are startup costs that go with the municipal model, and they are unavoidable and not inexpensive. Staff have already indicated that we recommend using ARPA funds for this purpose. And obviously, ARPA funds spent on this are ARPA funds that can't be spent on something else. But I don't see this as a waste of found money. Instead, I see it as an opportunity that matches perfectly with this moment in time. This one-time funding can be used for this one-time expense to establish a new program to serve the needs of this community. In my mind, this is exactly the right thing to do.
Thank you. If you don't know who I am, I'm Leonard Howard. I'm the fire chief. I've been the fire chief for 2.5 years, and I've been a member of the Brattleboro Fire Department for 36 years. And I live in Putney. I first off want to thank all my staff for their ability to handle the changes we endured since July of 2022, for stepping up and providing excellent care and the ability to handle an emergency or situation that's presented to them with the utmost professionalism. I can't thank these people enough, and I hope every one of you thank them tonight. The fire department lives by values of focus, integrity, respect, and excellence. You can ask every one of my people. That applies to every interaction that we have. The fire department began responding to life-threatening EMS calls such as chest pain, diabetic emergencies, unresponsive, not breathing, overdoses, difficulty breathing, trauma, unknown medical emergencies since 2000. Since 2000, we have responded to 1,000 to 1,300 of these calls annually for the last 20-something years. When you called for one of these emergencies, BFD was on scene, was the first on scene treating you the majority of the time. Just a bit of history, BFD has always had trained EMS staff. Prior to 2000, staff was certified at the emergency medical responder level, and the department has held a state EMS license of intermediate or advanced level since the late 70s, early 80s. In 2022, we upgraded our license to paramedic level. In 2000, the staff became certified at the EMT level. As of today, we have 2 paramedics, 5 advanced EMTs, 18 EMTs. 3 staff finishing up their paramedic certification. 1 member is enrolling in a paramedic program this week and will start in October. and 6 more staff will be starting an advanced EMT class in October. This is the type of commitment that this staff gives this town 365 days a year. Brattleboro is 32 square miles with a population of 12,000 people. And during the day, the population rises up to roughly 20,000 people. July 1st, 2022 to June 30, 2023, the Brattleboro Fire Department and Golden Cross responded to 3,000 requests for EMS care. 2,047 of those were transported to a care facility. There are 3 ambulances committed to the town of Brattleboro, 2 being at Central Fire Station, which are staffed with a Golden Cross provider and a BFD provider. The 3rd ambulance at Station 2 is cross-staffed with BFD staff. The last 14 months have shown we require 2 ambulances that need to be committed to Brattleboro. During that time frame, we have requested mutual aid 6 times, 4 of those for station coverage and 2 times for assistance on the scene. During this time, we have been receiving quality assurance of care from Dr. Storn on a monthly basis. Fire service-based services provide the best level of care. They are able to provide you with multiple trained disciplines from fire suppression, EMS, hazardous material response, extrication, high and low angle rescue, swift water rescue, confined space rescue, and trench rescue. On arrival, they can handle multiple types of emergencies. It is important for you to know that the National Fire Protection Association provided an informational data sheet in 2020 that showed 63% of EMS care and transport is done via fire-based EMS in the United States. An example of that is 9 communities in Vermont have fire-based EMS. They are Springfield, Hartford, Windsor, Woodstock, Berry City, Montpelier, Williston, Burlington, South Burlington, and our bordering neighboring communities of Keene, New Hampshire, Greenfield, Mass., and Turners Falls, Mass. We as a town are not inventing something that hasn't already been proven to be a great track record. As the fire chief of this town, I am recommending to the select board to choose fire-based EMS, as we have been shown since 2000 and over the last 14 months that quality of care, oversight, and customer relations have been extraordinary. Over the last 192 years, the fire department has been about our town, our people, and our responsibility. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Sue Fillion. I'm the planning director. I live in Walpole, New Hampshire. I've worked in Brattleboro for 21 years. I've lived in Walpole for just over 21 years. And I've worked for the town for 14 years. I've had the opportunity to work with the fire department leadership through my years of service to the town on topics such as hazard mitigation planning, flood response, and school crisis planning. I respect their responsiveness and professionalism. They are dedicated and care about the community and are able to rapidly transition to meet our community's needs. They've shown this over the past years as they've stepped up to respond to the opioid epidemic, and again this past year while they've been working with Golden Cross to provide EMS services for the town. I support a recommendation for a dedicated municipal EMS model. I think it's important to integrate emergency medical services into the town's public safety and emergency management system. Our hazard mitigation plan recognizes that there is an increasing frequency of both extreme rainfall events that result in flooding and winter and ice storms. And as climate change continues, heat stress will become a more significant risk in the lives of our residents. These types of events don't have town boundaries, and they're going to affect our entire region. We must be planning for public health preparedness and responses as an adaptation to climate change. And I believe the municipal EMS system does this by ensuring that we will have the staff and equipment we need to serve the community. When I reviewed the proposals and the documentation from the interviews, it stood out to me in the materials that there was some minimization of interactions with key players in Brattleboro's emergency response system, namely the fire department and the central dispatch. And I have to say, as a person that frequently reviews proposals and makes recommendations as to whom to contract with, this was a red flag to me. And I would not feel comfortable recommending a contract to a firm that has their own reservations with the way that the town is operating. Relationships and the ability to communicate matters, especially in emergency situations. I also have a statement to read from Kim Frost. She is the finance director for the town of Brattleboro, and she has been since April 2022. She does live in the town of Brattleboro, but was unable to be here tonight. So I'm going to read her letter. She says, I was compelled to this area and this town in particular by several different things. I appreciate the strong sense of community and the ability that people have here to participate openly in town government and directly impact the quality of life. I also appreciate the principles that are guiding this town's administration: access, transparency, and accountability. This driver seems evident to me in nearly everything that we do, including my department. For example, the decision to adopt a more open and interactive financial software system. This proposed new structure for our EMS system clearly aligns with me according to these same principles. It will improve the transparency of services and expenses and will put community needs at the center of decision making. We will be able to track and report all activity, statistics, and dollar amounts, including revenue, to be transparent and maximize our overall efficiency. Fewer layers will have us a direct line to all levels of the service and processes so that any issues that may arise will be immediately obvious and actionable. Additionally, we will be able to provide pathways to new career and growth opportunities for town employees, including training opportunities for EMTs and paramedics. The new salary structure recently negotiated ensures that our compensation is competitive with bordering communities, along with affordable benefits. This makes the town an appealing employer. All these factors will help us attract young people to the area where they can prosper and raise their families while serving the community they live in. Thank you for the opportunity to share my perspective, and we continue to provide the best possible service to the residents of Brattleboro.
Order, please. I apologize for interrupting the flow. My name is Carolyn Conrad, I'm a resident of Brattleboro. I'm concerned, I'm very respectful and appreciative of all the town employees. It's 6:30, this is a public forum, and we've heard from 3 people. And my concern is, by the time we hear from everyone, particularly if they prepared statements that we could publish, we're not going to have time for the public portion of the public forum.
We will have time, and we will also stay here as long as you want to stay. So we'll be available, and we can talk as late as you want to talk. So we'll try to move through these as quickly as we can. And Carol?
Good evening. My name's Carol Alott. I'm a resident of the town of Brattleboro and have been since I moved here 37 years ago when I started working for the town. I have been the Recreation and Parks Director for the past 33 years. The Recreation and Parks Department has worked closely with the Brattleboro Fire Department numerous times over the years. The Recreation and Parks Department comes from a little different angle of things. We don't always have emergencies, but we certainly rely on our teammates to come and help us provide safe community events. And we've dealt with the department on many different levels, from community events, being there and being supportive to us during our 4th of July events, our Super Bike Day, horrible events, horrible parade events. Not horrible events, horrible's parade. Let me correct my wording. Thank you very much. But to take it to a more serious level, the trainings that the fire department provides to not only the full-time staff, but we employ over 40 seasonal staff. So they're young individuals that come in that need first aid and CPR training, along with fire extinguisher training. And the patience and care that they take, the training, making sure that they're mentoring these young individuals along the way is something that you can't put a dollar amount on. Just a big appreciation. The other angle that I've dealt with Fire and EMS is the emergency response. yes, in Rec and Parks, we do have a few emergencies from time to time, but when we do, it's to care for your parents, your children, your grandchildren, your neighbors, and they're always there, and they're providing the service with compassion and care. I've also dealt with the fire department when things were not so bright, when I put a different hat on as an emergency shelter director, when we're all in a small room as the rivers are flooding, and I need support. It's one phone call to the fire department and saying, I need more people, I need a nurse, I need this, I need that. Carol, what do you need? And they make sure that support is there along the way so that we are caring for the citizens of Brattleboro. Not only are they, as I said before, they're nothing but responsive, caring professionals. From the management team right down to the firefighters and EMS staff. In closing, I have the utmost confidence in the Brattleboro Fire Department to provide fire and EMS service to the town and citizens of our community. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dan Tyler, the Department of Public Works Director. I've been with the Town of Brattleboro for 4.5 years, and I live in Dummerston. When I came on board here in Brattleboro, I would have never imagined how much we interact with the fire department at DPW. I would say it's multiple times a week at an administration level, and there's various different events and emergencies where we cross paths. The big ones that stand out to me are the emergency response to storms that we've seen recently. Sue spoke to the intensity of the storms. Back in March, we had a big snowstorm, lots of power outages, lots of trees down. We had over 100 events in town. That there was a lot of collaboration and communication between us and the fire department to respond to those. Back in July, we had another one that was 50 events. It seems like this is happening more and more frequently, and the thought of the unified emergency response that Patrick spoke to really just, to me, feels like it'll give us the ability as a town, as a municipality, to respond to those large-scale events stronger. When I think of engaging with a contractor from the DPW perspective, we engage with contractors frequently. A lot of times it's for work that we can't perform in-house, but sometimes it's for work that we could do, and for whatever reason we choose to contract it out, resources, time, and the process is always a little different. The end goal, the end product is the same, but how we get there is always done differently, and I think it's always, we look at it as it complicates communications, it complicates logistics, and when we can perform it ourselves in-house, it just makes everything smoother for everyone in town. And I can't help but think I would feel the same way if I were in the fire department's shoes and looking at working with my own team or an outside provider. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeremy Evans. I'm the assistant chief for the police department here in town. In case some of you haven't met me or don't know me, I've been here at the police department a little over 25 years. I've been a police officer for 26. Obviously, the vast majority of my time has been here at the town of Brattleboro. I was a resident of Brattleboro for around 15 years. My son was born here. I have grandchildren that live in town. So I also have a bunch of employees that work in town every day. So medical service here is close to my heart and important to me. I'm currently a resident of New Hampshire. So during my time with the police department here, I've had the opportunity to work with Rescue Inc. and with the fire department on medical calls, hundreds of scenes. Along the way, I've also been lucky enough to get myself a master's degree in criminal justice, which was based mostly on critical incident management. And I do believe that what we're talking about tonight really does lend itself to critical incident management. The topics that came to me when the town manager asked us to speak tonight I had four things that came to mind for me. One was continuity of service. EMS, to me, is a vital public safety service. And the only way that we can be certain that there will always be a continuity of service in things like this is for it to be a function of the municipality. Private organizations, as we've seen in area communities, can close, cease services, or suspend services without any notice and for any list of reasons. Having control over the service allows our community to be confident that we'll have continuous service as an EMS provider. Transparency. Emergency medical response is a function of public safety, and public safety is a function of the government. Transparency for public safety functions is really important. I know that from my 26 years in policing. For a system to be truly transparent to a community, it has to be owned and operated by that community. Only then will the community have the authority over the service to require the transparency that it desires. As Patrick mentioned, accountability. I won't reiterate it again, but I feel that the accountability part is extremely important, and there's no way to make a service more accountable than have it be a function of the town. Finally, for us, is the collaboration aspect. Collaboration of emergency services at any scene is vital. It's vital to your safety, to our safety, to everyone's. Your police department and your fire department have a long history of teamwork and collaboration. And I can tell you that that is not the way it necessarily is in every other community you go to. But we are blessed here with two departments that work exceptionally well together. Whether we're talking about a single person needing emergency medical response or a large-scale incident where we have to set up a unified command, we have done that. Your police department and your fire department already do that, have done it in the past, train together on those things, and work together every day. And when I look at all of those things, I think for the town moving forward, the best option is the municipal option.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Peter Lynch, and I'm here in three different capacities this evening. I am the assistant director. I grew up in the town of Brattleboro. I was a longtime resident of the town of Brattleboro. That better? Can everybody hear me okay? Thank you. Sorry. I currently live in Dummerston, but do own property with my daughter in Brattleboro, who lives in Brattleboro. So I'm here in three different capacities. I'm the assistant director of Public Works, and Director Tyler had an opportunity to talk to you this evening about Public Works, so I'm not going to. I'm also the assistant emergency management director for the town of Brattleboro. And lastly, as you may know, I was a 32-year veteran of the Brattleboro Fire Department. I rose through the ranks to the position of assistant chief. In 2016, I left the fire department to assume a chief's role at the Vermont Fire Academy. Since then, I've had many opportunities to see the operation of fire-based EMS at many levels throughout the state. I've had the opportunity to participate and watch the evolution of EMS response from the Brattleboro Fire Department for the last 3 decades, and feel like transportation of patients and billing is the next step in the progression of the department. Both Rescue Inc. and the Brattleboro Fire Department have very talented emergency care workers. I can't imagine anybody disputing their ability to take care of somebody that's having a medical emergency. Both agencies also have other related talents for which they are called upon throughout our area. I'd like to talk a little bit about multi-resource response as opposed to a single event with one patient. Still closer, huh?
Yeah, sorry.
My apologies. Multi-resource response or responses is quite different than a single event with a single patient. And those events typically have external factors, MVAs, special rescues, hazmat responses, fires, multiple calls. In a multi-resource response, having a single entity perform all of the tasks related to the care of the patient ensures that everyone on scene is led by someone within that organization, that everybody on the scene is qualified and has the same ongoing training, that everyone is following the same pre-identified protocols, that everybody is trained to the same standard operating guidelines, that everyone clearly understands and follows the chain of command, that everybody knows the expertise and limitation of the people for which they are working, and lastly, that everyone is held at the same high standard in the department. Start to finish, folks, at an emergency scene in the town of Brattleboro that may or may not include patient care, the fire department is responsible for the scene. I strongly believe that the folks that are leading the department and those that are responding daily to emergencies in our town are well-trained, caring, compassionate, and competent. I realize that this is a very complex issue and there are a lot of emotions intertwined, and have the greatest interest in success for both agencies. I mentioned earlier that I don't live in town. I live in Dummerston, but have family that live in Brattleboro. So I have great interest in both agencies succeeding, as my family will be provided services from both. I look forward to seeing the Brattleboro Fire Department move to the next step in their progression and taking transportation and billing on in the town of Brattleboro. But equally important for me is Rescue Inc. and the fire department to begin the process of reconnecting in a way that allows for a healthy mutual aid partnership. Thank you.
Hello, for you folks that I haven't met yet, I'm Chuck here. I'm the Assistant Fire Chief with the Town of Brattleboro. My role within the fire department is a lot of different things, but mostly so, my role is the operations of any emergency scene that takes place within the town, the overseeing of those operations. Prior to Brattleboro in my career path, I've served on other departments. I've served on the Gore, Maine Fire Department, which is a municipal-based, fire-based EMS system. And I've also served on smaller departments as well, Pownell Valley, which is on the other side of the state, a very small first response department. So I have some experience in all of the different roles that each department plays. Since I joined in 2001, roughly 22 years ago, the folks of the Brattleboro Fire Department have shown nothing but professionalism and pride in the work that they do every single day. Almost a year and a half ago, we were presented with a challenge, and the folks that you see surrounding these walls had hit that challenge head on. They have trained, increased EMS licensures, they've put egos aside, and all operate as valued team members to better serve the town of Brattleboro. The work the Brattleboro Fire Department membership have saved lives and have touched lives daily, every single day, since as the chief said, at some point in the 1970s. The members of the Brattleboro Fire Department have proven that there is a successful model out there for fire-based EMS, and they've done so in the past 14 months. This can be seen even as recently as of today and yesterday. Today, we responded to 4 almost simultaneous calls back to back. All of those calls mitigated and managed by the people that you see surrounding these walls. Yesterday, 3 almost simultaneous calls, some with critical acuity, all managed by the people that you see surrounding these walls. Our crews routinely respond to 20+ emergencies a day. That's all within the town of Brattleboro, all covered effectively and efficiently by the response model that was built in July. As you'd heard from my colleagues in other departments, all departments work towards a common goal collectively. No department is one over another. Although many emergencies don't have a need for in-depth interdepartmental coordination, many do. Regardless of the incident type, fire, medical, hazmat, or technical rescue incident, a streamlined incident command structure is critical to the overall operations and successful outcome of an incident. It has only become more seamless and successful in the past year with the new EMS response model. One of the better things to come from this transition It's the productivity and streamlining of tasks. Some of these examples are small, but allow for a smooth collaboration and coordination of needs between departments. Permits coordination in large community events in our communities, such as Gallery Walk, Harris Hill Skills Gym, 4th of July celebration, now have clean paths of travel from the vendor to the permit to emergency service needs to the execution of events. Clarity among departments while operating in the unified command structures, both emergency and non-emergency preparedness, only further solidifies why municipal fire-based EMS is the right choice for the town of Brattleboro. Choosing any other service would be a dysfunction to the town of Brattleboro and would be a disservice to the people that you see that have committed so fully to the community of Brattleboro. I recommend the Brattleboro Select Board make the decision for fire-based EMS for the town of Brattleboro.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to the library. This is National Library Card Sign-Up Week or Sign-Up Month, so everybody will have to show a library card to get out. I'm Star Latronica. I'm the director of the library. That's why I have my own microphone. I've been here 7.5 years, but I tried to move to Brattleboro for 20 years because I love this town. I would come to visit, and I was always struck with the way that this town is truly a community. Unfortunately, I do live in Guilford. However, anyone who knows me knows that I spend the bulk of my time in this town. Unfortunately, at the library, we do occasionally have emergencies, and I have been so grateful this last year to have the unified response of everyone coming to help and all hands on deck when we have had to call dispatch for emergencies that have happened here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time singing the praises of the fire department. We've heard them. I do want to reiterate what Carol said about the training, including Stop the Bleed training. So all of our staff has been trained in Stop the Bleed training, something that when I went to library school decades ago, I never thought I would need in a public library, but reality shows that we do. And I know I can count on these guys to give me the training I need and to come if I need their help. I also want to mention that a lot of our folks, a lot of our patrons are unsheltered, and that presents a tremendous challenge, as we all know, in the town. And the fire department takes care of keeping an eye on the safety of folks, but they do it with compassion. And so they work to make sure that people are safe, even if they are unsheltered. And I'm grateful for that. When I first understood the role of fire and health and safety was when the fire department really took the leadership role when COVID happened. It was the fire department that told us how to stay safe and gave us the guidance and the parameters we needed to keep everybody in this town safe. And we fared so much better than many other communities. So I'm grateful for that too. Basically, what I want you to know is I trust my town. And I think these guys are the perfect example of that. And all the folks that we see up there behind us, keeping an eye on us even as we're doing this.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sally Krusnix. I'm the HR director for the town of Brattleboro. I was actually moving here before I was lucky to have this position. And I've been with the town since June of 2019. And I'm really fortunate to work with such great, amazing people. And I want to echo everything everybody said here today. But before I do, I want to take a chance before they have to run out on a call to give an opportunity to call out all the firefighters that have shown up here today. I'm beaming inside just to see them here. I want to start, if I miss somebody, please make sure you raise your hand. I've got Kyle, Megan. Downstairs I got Mesa. Upstairs we got Dave. Who's hiding behind you, Dave? Is that? There he is. Matt and Jared and Kristen. And then we have Steve. He's our part-time fire inspector. We have Joe, PJ. oh, don't tell me, Hool. I always call him by his last name. And then we have Chase and Nick and Keegan and Lieutenant Lambert, or Kevin. Sorry, Kevin. I meant to say Kevin. It came out Lieutenant Lambert. So just an honor to work with them every day since I've been here. The fire department was always very welcoming. Most people, when they have HR coming into their department, usually close the door, but they were very welcoming. So I just want to start by saying, I was impressed right away. Our fire department's core value was defined in their mission statement as our town, our people, our responsibility. The town as an organization is built on the principles of fair and ethical conduct of our employees. The town's reputation for integrity and excellence requires the highest standards of behavior by all of our staff. Our employees have a duty to conduct themselves in a manner that will merit the confidence of the public. We do not tolerate any employees subjecting members of the public, outside agency staff, or other employees to any emotional distress or an unsafe environment. We have all maintained and will continue to maintain a workplace culture that is safe for all. Our fire department has been working over the past 14 months under a magnifying glass. They have proven they can handle public analysis of their abilities, and they continue to advance while being professional and providing exceptional care for all. I'd like to take this opportunity to respond to the accusations, concerns, and negative comments regarding the past relationships between fire and the rescue staff. On December 23, 2020, Rescue filed a complaint alleging gender discrimination, poor patient turnover, verbal abuse, and general lack of cooperation by our fire staff. The town is obligated to investigate all complaints. The HR director is advised and consults with VLCT, the Vermont League of Cities and Towns attorney, sharing the summary of all the findings of the investigation with our town manager prior to the conclusion of an investigation. These complaints made by Rescue were jointly investigated by town and rescue staff. In April of 2021, the town concluded they were unfounded. These findings were shared with Rescue and were not refuted. As a result of the investigation, to assist with our interorganizational concerns, a universal incident form was created in April of 2021. Either agency could submit the form to report any concerns or incidents that may have occurred on scene. This form was used on 3 occasions between May of 2021 and May of 2022. The first incident led to a joint investigation and pertained to incident command and safety for all on scene. In Rescue's conclusion, they clarified incident command and safety protocols for their staff to follow in the future. The town agreed with their conclusion. The second incident led to a joint investigation pertaining to training and a clear understanding by newly hired rescue staff of the operational letter of agreement between BFD and Rescue and the transfer of care. BFD's conclusion was not refuted by Rescue. The third incident would have led to a joint investigation pertaining to a similar incident as the first. This investigation was not completed due to the end of our contract with Rescue. In the past 14 months, the town has not conducted any investigations within BFD pertaining to interorganizational concerns despite working on a daily basis with another private ambulance company. Our continued success is dependent upon the trust of the community, and we are dedicated to preserving this trust. I fully support the proposed staff recommendation to go with full municipal EMS due to the integrity and outstanding professionalism of our BFD staff. They are committed to their mission, our town, our people, our responsibility. Thank you.
Sally did forget to introduce me. For anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Jamal Cunningham. I'm a firefighter in the town of Brattleboro. I've worked for the town of Brattleboro since November of 2021, and I am the president of the local 4439 Brattleboro Professional Firefighters Union. A lot of the things in my prepared statement have been covered by all of the town, which just shows you the unified front that we do provide to the town. And in the interest of time, I'll try to keep it brief. The first that was covered is accountability. I will quickly glaze over that. There is a level of accountability that comes with putting on the Brattleboro Professional Firefighters uniform every day. Coming into work every day, everybody within our fire department knows that a level of excellence is expected of you, and that level of excellence is upheld by you wearing this shirt and by you having a commitment to the town and knowing that you will be held accountable for whatever you do within your community. So we go out and we do our best to always be professional and courteous and caring to our community, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it reflects well on our entire community and our town. The second quality I would like to talk about with the Brattleboro Fire Department is availability. 365 days a year, 24/7, we are in the fire station. Some people throughout this process, they were new to learning that. We are in the fire station, they are manned 24/7. We are prepared to respond to emergencies at any and all times. And I think if you combine that with the strategic location of our fire stations and then our accountable leadership, it provides us with a capable and a ready workforce that's ready to respond to any emergency that you need. The third quality about the Brattleboro Fire Department that I love so much is a hunger for growth. Since I started with the department in November of 21, I've seen exponential growth in our members and our department as a whole. This entire process has shown that, and I think everybody's responded very well to some trying times as far as, when things are up in the air, it was nice to come into work and know that everybody that was there was just committed to their excellence. They were not worried about anything that they heard on social media, anything that they saw in the paper. They were worried about providing care, because that's what we come to work to do every day. And when it comes to that hunger for growth, I've seen people within our fire department advancing their EMS certification levels, finding new and innovative trainings, and studying the latest protocols. And these are just all things that, once again, I think show the dedication of BFD staff. Quality number 4 is something I believe that is pretty commonly overlooked, and that quality is familiarity. Not only are BFD members expected to learn every street and avenue in this town as part of their probationary requirements, but as their careers grow, they are expected to become familiar with the intricacies of the town. These intricacies include the best access routes for residential and commercial buildings, special needs for repeat patients, and the culture of our town and its people. And we feel like we can adequately represent that when we go out into our community. The fifth, and like I said, I'll keep this brief, the fifth and final quality that I witness displayed by the Brattleboro Fire Department is our diversity. Our members come from many different backgrounds and walks of life, allowing us to work as a team and combine our experiences to best serve the town. While our members of our department all aim to be as well-rounded as possible, we have the unique opportunity to employ multiple people who have focused their efforts into specific realms of emergency services. I refer to these members as specialists. These specialists include paramedics, rescue technicians, hazardous materials operators, and many others. The efforts of these specialists combined with our leadership provides our citizens with what is commonly known as an all hazards department, which basically means if you call us, we are prepared for any situation, along with our police department, along with our public works. We're prepared to handle any situation that comes to us. We're a very resilient bunch, and we really look forward to the challenge of new things within the town. So in closing, I would just like to thank all the members of the local 4439 Brattleboro Professional Firefighters Union, the town officials here, and our administration for everybody's continued professionalism and dedication to this community. So now we can get on with the rest of the public forum. Thank you, John.
Great. Yeah, thank you very much, Jamal. Thank you, everybody. I think that was very helpful. I know that isn't necessarily a perspective that you've heard throughout this process, so I wanted to let that sink in and make sure you understand there are many sides to every story. And so this is, I think, an important thing for everybody to hear. But I know everybody doesn't necessarily agree with all of us, and that's fine. And we want to learn more about that. We want to understand what that means. I hope you, as you choose to speak now, I hope you will be as informative as these folks have been. So I will take hands as I see them, and I'll go there and then there.
I want to express my great appreciation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speak into the mic.
I want to express my appreciation to all the town employees here. We appreciate and honor the work that you do for the town. And I'm grateful to all the work you do for the town. But this process with 11 people sitting up here is not a public process. This is a way to blindside us with the town's opinion, which we already know. So we do not need it. And it was really disappointing because this was supposed to be a public process. And from my point of view, this is just one more example of how the town all along and the select board have wanted only a fire EMS. And so all of the rhetoric about this is a public process and we want your input is just a sham. But I appreciate everybody here, including the fire department, who does an amazing job and who have done umpty-ump hours of overtime. And this is not about their skill. It's not about the trainings they do for the groups in town or for the schools, anything that they do. It is about, do we want to pay all this money for an ambulance transport system? Do we need that in this town? Do we need to spend $2 million in ARPA funds to make this happen? So it is not a slam against the fire department in the slightest. They are an amazing group. They put their lives at risk for us. But this presentation here took an hour out of an hour and a half supposed public meeting, and that is outrageous.
Thank you for your opinion. And what I heard you say was you don't like the idea of spending the ARPA money, but you have confidence in the fire department. Over here. I really need to understand it, and I hope people will help explain this to us. Mr. Allen?
This is just going to be quick. You said in the beginning that we were going to be respectful, and that last bit of mudslinging against Rescue Inc. I thought was totally unnecessary.
Thank you. Who is next? Over here. Let's use the mic and make sure people at home can hear us.
My name is Linda Bedard, and I've been a retired RN from the hospital of 56 years. I've had a lot to do with rescue when they first started, and I certainly have had a lot to do with the fire department because they come to my house at least once a month to pick my husband up. He has MS, and he's done more from this town than any of you sitting at that table except for Miss Lola. I think the money would be better spent in giving the police department funds to help protect this town and clean it up than it would be for this nonsense. This is
Please speak in the mic.
Listen.
Please speak in the mic.
This is absolute nonsense. You people created this problem. Rescue has worked fine with the fire department, as the fire department's worked fine with rescue. Rescue's had an ambulance at every public event. Day after day, ski jump, I know, I've been there and worked with them. So I really think you need to think really hard about this. And if T. Howard was alive, he'd be climbing through the ceiling with this whole, it's just nonsense. You're not thinking about Brattleboro, you're not thinking about me, you're not thinking about this person, you're not thinking about the poor schmuck who doesn't have any say in anything ever anymore from anywhere. And you need to listen to the town, you need to listen to us. I pay taxes on a piece of property that has no town water, no town sewer, and you were supposed to make it a town road 15, 20 years ago, and you never did. So I have lost a lot of faith in the town, except for the fire department. I do love you. Thank you for helping, Bill. I make you pies all the time. You know that.
Thank you. Yep. Over there.
Yes, John Kennedy. I'm a resident of Brattleboro, and I'm here to offer my support for the municipal fire-based EMS model. I've been following this process since the beginning, about 14 months ago. I've attended every meeting, either on Zoom or in person. I've attended every select board meeting. I've read the AP Triton report, and I've come to the conclusion that, and it's a very simple conclusion for me, that fire-based EMS is the best for the town of Brattleboro. And it's real simple. When I turn on the faucet in my kitchen, I expect water to come out ASAP, as soon as possible. If somebody's trying to break into my house, I call the police department. I expect the police department to respond as soon as possible. If I have a fire or an emergency in medical services, I want response ASAP. So I looked at the AP Triton report, and I looked at the prioritized response time, and it shows that the fire department responds to an incident at about 6.6 and 13 seconds. Rescue Inc. is 11 and 3 seconds. It's 11 minutes, 3 seconds, excuse me. And that's according to the report.
Let's let the
That's in the report, page 45. Okay? So that, to me, is the most important thing, prioritize in response. Now, the other part of what I want to say tonight has to do with the perception of how this all started. I call it, actually, Liz McLaughlin mentioned it the other night. She called it the rescue narrative. The rescue narrative says that for some unknown reason, the select board just decided to end their relationship with rescue for no good reason, for no public input, and no consequence to whatever was going on in the town. That is not the case. Drew Hazelton of Rescue Inc. sent a letter to the town informing them that they were no longer going to perform EMS services after June 30th, 2022. That information has not been reported. Most people in this town don't recognize that. They don't understand that unless they went to those informational meetings or unless they attended the select board meeting on April 19th, 2022. That is what is going on, and that is a lot of the animosity and misconception of what's happened in this town. It's an unfortunate fact. The reason people believe that is because that's all they hear. It hasn't been reported in the Reformer. It hasn't been reported in the Digger. It hasn't been reported in the comments. All we hear is the rescue narrative about how rescue was done wrong. Well, rescue wasn't done wrong. The town of Brattleboro was done wrong. They were done wrong by the Reformer, the Digger, and the Commons for not reporting what happened. And that was, again, what happened with that notice from Rescue Inc. I won't get into the reasons for that, but those are the facts. The other part of it is mutual aid. I've learned through this process what mutual aid is. Mutual aid is when one agency backs up another agency. When you have all of the ambulances out on a call like they were earlier last week, you need another ambulance to stand by to protect Brattleboro residents if there's another emergency. After the termination of the agreement, the town went to Rescue. They asked Rescue to enter into a municipal mutual aid agreement. Rescue refused. Rescue refused to do that, even though they have 5 ambulances sitting up on Canal Street, putting Brattleboro in the position of having to go to Keene and to Greenfield to get mutual aid. That puts residents of Brattleboro at risk when all 3 ambulances that we have are on call. If you doubt what I'm saying, go to BCC TV. Look at the April 19th, 2022 Select Board meeting. Scroll down to 49 minutes into that meeting, and you will hear Ian Goodnow make a very clear, very concise explanation of how the town of Brattleboro was blindsided by Rescue in the termination of the agreements. Thank you.
Thank you. Over there. Right there. Dan's got it. And then over here. Next. Okay.
I'm Carol McManus, and I live in the town of Brattleboro. Hello, everyone. I want to first thank you very much for your thoughtful, well-prepared statements tonight. To me, it's been very helpful and much needed. I really appreciate it because we haven't been hearing this. Okay? I also want to say that, for many more years than I care to share, that Rescue Inc., Brattleboro Fire Department, have come to my house, have taken excellent care of me. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, the political stuff and all of that. I try not to dabble in that. But I get it, and anybody that was at the select board meeting might have heard me say, I'm not okay with the select board bringing this to the surface. But after careful thought and listening, there has seemed to have been going on for quite a while a lot of mudslinging. not just coming from well, not coming from them. I haven't heard a lot of mudslinging. I haven't. And I don't really even want to go there except to say that I think this is necessary to hear that narrative as it was put by Liz. And it took me aback. I'm also going to say something that a lot of you that know me or anybody that may or may not be in here might come as a surprise. When I had a lot of emotions because when I'll go back real quick, I don't know, a month or so before, in the groups and so forth, there was talk about the Winter Carnival sign. The select board had turned it down. There was a select board member that put it out there and said, please, please reach out to your select board members. This is very important. We need this. It went back, blah, blah, blah. We got it, right? And then very soon after that, we get wind that Rescue Inc. is gone. Now, I want to say this. It's really important for me to express this because that's what got me emotional. Because I didn't know the facts behind this whole thing. I really didn't. And they know, the select board knows, they know, they basically, in many ways, and through different people, have already apologized. But there were circumstances, as my understanding is, that forced them in to make that decision. There was a deadline. Okay, hopefully they'll learn from their mistakes and we won't be put in that place again. So moving forward, I think right now, with the recommendations that I've heard from those sitting in this, yes, it is a public forum. And I like the format. Thank you very much. We've been talking at them and in and around on the groups and the sidewalks, just talking at them. Now it's time for us to hear behind the scenes. And people go, I did the same thing. Oh no, you're throwing mud. Don't do that. Well, if that's what you're interested in and if that's what it's going to take you to help you understand, okay. I don't see it as I did before that they're just trying to get votes, which we're not actually voting on. And that's a whole nother issue. But I do now have more respect and confidence in our select board in making this decision. And I no longer believe, based on sitting down with during office hours today and other research, looking, and I too have been following this right along, and listening to people, that it's time to move on. And Brattleboro Fire Department, EMS, and this is not to discredit the services that Rescue Inc. is capable of providing. You are excellent in your jobs. I thank you for all the years of your service. I went to your open house. I listened to each and every one of you of your presentations, of the services you provide. Superb. Okay? But again, I'm going to say it's time to move on. In the municipal aspect, I really like that, how it ties in. Everyone's looking at it like, whoa, you're going to spend all that money up front. Have you calculated? Just a rough estimate anyway? No one's saying precise numbers because they don't have that. Have you looked at it? Okay, $400,000 times 5. Roughly, give or take, right? It's basically the same cost that we're going to put out. Now there's the other issue, where the funds are coming from. I could go on. So I've done what I'm serious. I really, I too now support, and I know this comes as a surprise, Brattleboro Fire Department EMS municipal model. Thank you.
Thank you. Over here.
Hi, folks. My name is Will Cram. My family moved to Brattleboro from Montpelier 43 years ago. I have a few comments I'd like to make in support of restoring rescue as our EMS provider. And you might say that I have some skin in the game. Let me explain. I suffered a sudden cardiac arrest a few years ago. For those of you who don't know, that's a medical emergency where only 10% survive. 10%. I survived because rescue saved my life. That Saturday night, there were 2 paramedics on the ambulance when they came to my house. One of them was one of rescue's finest, highly skilled and experienced. They got my heart beating again. They provided advanced life support transport to BMH. After I was airlifted to Dartmouth and spent a week in the ICU, I was able to come home. So do I want rescue back? You're damn right I do. And I'm not alone. The last time I checked on the town website, 65 unique individuals made comments about this issue, and 64 of them want rescue. That's 98%, people, 98%. This last Saturday and Sunday, we set up a table at the co-op with petitions for town residents to sign if they wanted rescue back. Spending a few hours there, we got over 200 signatures without even trying. I heard things like, I love rescue. Where can I sign? Can I sign more than once? People from Guilford and Vernon and Hinsdale and Newfane and Marlboro, they wanted to sign. We wouldn't let them because they're not town residents. And I think the town knows what the people want. And I think it's time that we remind ourselves what it says in our charter. This is from the preamble to the charter for the town of Brattleboro. The Brattleboro Town Charter is a legal governance document designed and enacted to serve the needs of all Brattleboro residents by 1, addressing the common good of all citizens, 2, respecting the will of the people. Respecting the will of the people. Is the town doing that? Now, those of you of a certain age might remember the Wendy's commercial from 40 years ago. Where's the beef? Okay? My question to the town is, where's the patient? Because in all of these materials, all of these discussions, I've seen absolutely nothing about the quality of medical care that's to be provided to the patient who is in an emergency situation. The patient is the most important person in this discussion, and they're totally forgotten. The patient should be the most important person in this discussion. We're talking about health care. We're talking about saving people's lives. Why can't we put aside the politics and the personalities and the egos and the petty disagreements from the past? The people in this town deserve the very best emergency medical care that we can provide with the money that we have. The fact that I am standing here and talking to you tonight is a testament to the quality of care that Rescue provides. And they are ready, willing, and able to serve the town of Brattleboro again. The town knows what the people want. The town knows what the people deserve. My question is, do they have the courage? Do they have the courage to admit that they made a mistake a year ago?
Is there anyone else that wants to speak?
I'm not finished, Mr. Potter.
Thought you were done.
My hope is that they see the error of their ways and they will restore rescue as our EMS provider. I pray that they will.
Thank you. I saw another hand, right here, Kate, and then Dale.
Hi, everybody. My name's Kate O'Connor, and I'm from Brattleboro. And yes, I am John. I'm from Brattleboro. First, I want to say thank you to both rescue and the fire department people. To me, this is nothing personal about anybody, because we all think you do a great job. For me, and like John Kennedy over there, I've been to every single select board meeting since April 22nd, 2019, April 19th, 2022, sorry, when the decision was made to end the contract with Rescue. I've also, as the select board knows, Patrick sat through every presentation, looked at every number humanly possible. So I almost know, I don't know, maybe information overload. To me, this is not about whether the fire department's good or rescue's good. They're both good. To me, it's the financial impact that it's going to have on our town. And Patrick talked about that when he gave his presentation. And I actually differ from what the town, the town presented. What they presented was based on fiscal year 25. They did not tell us what the expenses and revenues for EMS is going to be. And I know this is confusing for some people. And I'm happy to go over the numbers, and I'm sure the town is. But we don't make money off of the EMS system in this town. In fact, we have to pay, the revenues don't match the expenses. And they're never going to. We're never going to make enough money off the insurance reimbursements to cover the expenses. And I think that's, to me, it's a huge problem, because somebody has to make up that delta. And that's either going to be us as a taxpayer. It's either going to be they're going to increase the billing rates. We're going to have bake sales. I always wondered why Rescue had to do a car raffle. Now looking at the numbers, I totally get it. I'd also want to mention, and I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said in a meeting, so if the town wants to say, no, Kate, that's not what we said. What we've heard over and over is that expenses are going to go up, the revenue is not. And that has been said at numerous select board meetings. It's been said based on anybody you talk to about how EMS revenues and reimbursements or expenses work. That's a concern to me. If the expenses are going to continue to rise and the revenues aren't, who's going to have to pay that extra? And that's going to happen every single year. The costs for just year one, the added costs, not anything included in the operating budget right now, additional work that has to be done if we do our own EMS system, is $953,000. That's year one, and we know it's going to go up. What we don't know, and again, I appreciate all the work town staff has done, we don't know anything more than they told us for FY25, which is year one. They're giant question marks moving forward. And the financial information we've been given by the town are only estimates. We don't know what the revenue is going to be. They have a high and low number. We're not going to know any of that until after the select board makes this decision to pick the municipal system. And we don't know that because it's the select board that has to set the billing rate. So whatever you and I and everybody gets billed is up to the Brattleboro Select Board. Right now they're talking about $1,400. That's how you get to the high end. So we don't know a lot of the information. That's why there are question marks moving forward. So anybody that says, oh, it's going to be cheaper to go with the town, we don't know that. The town hasn't presented those numbers, giant question marks. It's also another thing that we need to think about besides the finances, which again are giant question marks, is there are two things that are important in EMS. You have to have the workforce and you have to have the equipment. Everybody will tell you, not just me, but in Vermont and around the country, there is a shortage of EMS workers. We just had, at the last select board meeting, they had the fire chief from Springfield and from South Burlington. Both of them said they are understaffed. In fact, the Springfield fire chief said, the amount of work we're doing is borderline abuse. We are understaffed. That's what I worry about for our fire department. Will they have the people power to actually do what we need to do? We don't want them to get, abused. So that's a huge concern to me. Will we able to be set one up because we won't have the people? The other issue is ambulances. The fire chief in South Burlington told us he's ordered an ambulance. It's going to take 3 years for it to get there because of supply chain issues. So I just want, again, I love the fire department, I love rescue, but I think it's irresponsible for us to go with the municipal system with question marks in our budget for the year ahead, with a workforce shortage and the supply chain issues. Can we afford it, and are we actually going to be able to stand one up? But again, I really want to make sure all the people in the fire department and rescue know I appreciate them. It's nothing personal for me. It's basic, can we in this town afford to do this? So thank you. I'm sorry I went on so long.
Thanks, Kate. Gail, over there. And somebody next? Anybody next? Wave in the back.
All right.
Speak in the mic.
Can you hear me now? Okay, my name is Dale Joy, and for 40 years we've been going off and on through this whole thing about making it a municipal. But I also believe that we can't rush anything. It should be done in partnership with rescue until we have enough of our own people. And actually, they've been here 60 years. They are our own people, rescue is. I do believe you said there were 2 ways to go in this. There might be a third, that the town slowly builds up where they can handle everyday processes. And then not spend all this money at once, even though I thought that would be a good idea a few months ago. But start building up the rescue that we have as a fire department and municipal, and keep rescue at the same time. Can we do that? I broke my neck. It's called a dead man's break, 1 and 2. And rescue was there for me, okay? They were the best that could have had, because Dartmouth, Hitchcock, Boston General, and Maine medical centers all said I should be dead with the way it went down. Rescue helped me through that. Now, I don't know, can you guys work together and slowly build the municipal while the town is starting to grow? Because you'll always need rescue no matter how big our fire department gets, because we're going to have a lot more activity, floods and winds and crazy tornadoes. That we have to think of the climate too at the same time we're doing all of this. And we will end up having to be short-suited somewhere in all of this mess as a town. We have to think of it all working together for a while until we really know. We've got 14 months of learning how to do it, but we really need to have both of them working. Thank you.
Thank you. Back over there, and then Beth. Dan.
I'm Mary Casey, and I live over on Maple Street, so I get to see both the ambulance service and the fire department a lot. And one of the concerns that I've seen maybe in the last 3 to 4 years is I do think we're going to start seeing more environmental emergencies in town. We can even see with some of our numbers now what happened in the last year. To have 3,000 calls is just an incredible number. We can also see in the last experience, we can have a successful rescue organization that is separate from a municipal EMS system. I did appreciate the forum. I do think that a municipal system at this point in this climate that we're going through and looking forward, I don't care who bickered with who in the past. Looking forward, I think we need a municipal system that is a first response unified system. And I think that we have the benefit in town of a first response system, everyone from Parks and Rec to the fire department, to the police station, to public works. It isn't always true in towns that they get along, and they do get along here. And frankly, I think it would be a good use of ARPA funds. We have an opportunity going forward into what we know is going to be a period of time with many more disasters where we need emergency aid to kind of take that hit. And I hate paying taxes, who doesn't? And they're horrible in town, I know they are. But I think we have the opportunity to soften that blow by using our ARPA funds to make sure we're ready for the next 60 years going forward with a strong municipal system. And I say this with some trepidation because I just don't like disagreeing with Kate, because I see her at every meeting when I walk.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Beth Kendall from Brattleboro. I just have a couple questions. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah. One question is, first of all, just to clarify what Mr. Kennedy said, my understanding, and I don't want to argue this at all, but I was following things too, and my understanding about what that letter or what happened, and please, I'm not looking to mudsling, is that what I read in that letter was that Rescue said they could not offer services for nothing, that there was some issue around what their agreement or their discussion with the town was at that point. That may be off, but that was in the letter, so I don't know about that. My other question, and I'll just ask it and you can go on, is how, in your plan, in the municipal plan, how long, or what do you think the plan is with Golden Cross for how long? Where do you see that in the future of the plan?
You want to address that?
Sure. We have a contract with Golden Cross until June 30 of 2024.
You think they can want me enough for that?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you. And you asked about that letter. I don't know. I think everyone just has to read that and interpret it themselves. One of the reporters asked me for it, so I think it's going to be available. I think it's also available somewhere. Kate has a copy there. If you want to read it, Kate has a copy.
My name is Jeanette White. I am not from Brattleboro, but neither are a lot of other people who are here. And I was not going to say anything, but I just wanted to correct something that I think Mr. Kennedy said that is a little misleading. From the Triton report, the response time, and you pointed out that response time is one of the most important things here. The response times were not the same for both. The Brattleboro Fire Department response time was 6.6 minutes, 6 seconds, And you pointed out that rescue was 11, but that was because they cover a bigger region. If you look at the response time for rescue within the town of Brattleboro, it's comparable to the fire department time. So I think that it's really important to make sure that in reading that Triton report,
Yes, okay.
in reading the Triton report, it's really important to make sure that you're looking at exactly what they said and how they reported it. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Len would like to respond to that, and then we'll go over there.
Just so you know, the response times that AP Triton used were for Brattleboro and Brattleboro only.
Thank you. Over there.
Carolyn Conrad, Brattleboro. I just want to help clarify. I'm going to read verbatim from the letter, the final paragraph. Quote, given your stated position and unwillingness to pay for emergency medical response, Rescue Inc. will not be able to continue providing that service to the town of Brattleboro beyond the June 30, 2022 contract end date. If the town would like to come and speak with me about an agreement for service beyond June 30, 2022, please contact me no later than May 1st, 2022 to schedule a meeting.
Thank you. And I think somebody, back there, Patrick, right next to you.
George Carvel. I came in late, so I may be repeating something, but I realize the board, I do not think, has decided to use ARPA money for the big hardware cost. I don't think that decision's been made, but there it is. You got, a big expense, and you got this money. We have a lot of things we need in this town. Homelessness comes to my mind, first of all. I think there are better uses for that ARPA money than to pay for something we already have.
Thank you. Anybody else? Back here? Let's go back here, Bob, and then we'll go to you.
So this is not a warned meeting, but I have to say I'm Bob Ozer from Brattleboro, right?
Thank you, Bob.
But you might know me. I'll keep this really brief. Someone asked me about this the other day, and I said, I don't know how good. Most of the people here know Rodney King. Why can't we all get along is the takeaway line, right? So I'm going to ask that as a question. Why can't we all get along? Rescue is working with the fire chief in Keene currently. The fire department in Keene is working with rescue. Let that settle in for a minute. In Putney, rescue works in Putney. The fire chief in Putney works with rescue. The fire chief of Putney, Tom Goddard, spoke at the rescue open house, if you went on the 26th of August. And he said, we get into it sometimes. We really do. Some of us do here too. But at the end of the day, we'll call each other up, we'll get a cup of coffee, we'll work it out. We're focused on the patient, and sometimes that makes us get a little too intense, but we work it out. So my question is, why can't we all get along? Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
I don't know if you can hear me or not. I'm Jean Stevens. I've lived in Brattleboro 76 years, and I keep hearing that everyone wants the best for Brattleboro, but Brattleboro already had the best EMS in Rescue Inc., the best fire department, and I might add, the best police department. And that's the way it should be.
Thank you. Over there.
Hi, I'm Zeke. I live in Brattleboro. I'll try to be quick because we are over time. A number of questions, I was mostly here to listen, but a number of questions were raised. During the first hour, when everyone at the table was making their case. Sounds like mostly for the fire department and one for the combined plan with rescue. A number of people spoke on the fact that, well, actually, my first question is there expected to be a subsequent forum on the same, any more public forums on the same topic? The same question.
Yeah, so we'll go over next steps once everyone's had a chance to say what they want to say, and then we can talk that through then. But basically, there is a meeting on the September 19th select board meeting. There will be an opportunity there for public comment. Anyone, you can come say what you've said again or something new or anything else. And that's going to be the next opportunity.
Okay, well, for the first hour of what was supposed to be an hour and a half public forum, when the people at the table were speaking, a number of people mentioned accountability, and that caused me to wonder what, and made the argument that the fire department is more accountable than rescue or any other agency could be to the people. But no one has spoken much about the accountability process, the accountability policy. If a civilian feels like they didn't get the standard of services that they should have or their rights were violated, is the fire department really accountable when every single town official is so set in their opinion that the fire department is unequivocally excellent? Also, at the end, next to you, you spoke on the complaints about, you spoke on some of the allegations from rescue against the fire department and the investigation and subsequent finding that there wasn't any basis for these allegations. In the sense of accountability, it sounds like a legal process was followed, but it's common sense that there was some basis for these allegations to be made in the first place. And I'm wondering if further steps were taken other than this investigation in which there were, the findings were negative on wrongdoing, like gender sensitivity training. One of the complaints was, gender discrimination. Was there gender sensitivity training? Was there training on, what was the other, the cooperation between departments? Like, what further steps were taken other than this investigation that exonerated the fire department?
Thank you.
Also, what, when a civilian is not happy or feels like their rights have been violated by the services provided, what does accountability look like to the people who keep mentioning accountability? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask if Sally, do you want to address that?
Star had mentioned the training, the Stop the Bleed training that the fire department offers all of our town staff. We have a town-wide calendar, and there's a monthly training that basically does occur with our fire department. We lean on them for a lot of our training, but others we offer a lot of, there's a lot of harassment prevention training. This year we're having 2 of them. And legally we don't have to offer that many, but we do. We are training all of our town staff, which fire is included in all town-wide training, DEI training. We have a DEI committee. Fire is on our committees, as well as our safety and wellness committees, which will include like any formal trainings that we have coming up, including I'll be offering some pronoun training, and we're going to, which they already are. I always hear this a lot. Our EMS providers between fire and police, they are very well versed in pronoun training, but we want to offer that town-wide. And then as well as, I wish I had the list in front of me so I can show it to you. I'm sure members of the Safety and Wellness Committee can share that we continuously provide training. And versus the accountability, that would be that if someone had any form of complaint, I know as an HR department, I have heard from members of the public, necessarily, not going to share what I've heard, but if concerns are brought to my attention, I immediately go to the department head and have a conversation with them. And if we need to lead into an investigation or just follow up on what the processes would be to help with a resolution, we do work through that process together.
Thanks, Ellie. I know we had one over here. Yeah, right here, Dan. And then next. There. You.
Terry Martin. I'm a longtime resident of Brattleboro. Have the greatest respect for all our departments. I know chief in the fire department, and I know his dad, who was a previous chief. So I go back to starting with the Brat PD in 1966. I'm also an adjunct instructor at the academy since 1977 to 1994 and beyond. And I know the first question I have, and I addressed it one time to the select board, is I don't know, a firefighter at all the different levels has to go through required certification every year. And last I knew it was something like 30 hours. Is it higher than that, Chief? 24 hours? I lowered the standard. The people in rescue also have to go through all the time. What I'm wondering is, a firefighter goes through all that certification, and then he also has to go through the certification as EMS, just the basic level of EMS, never mind a paramedic, and how you're going to rotate all these people through this kind of training to follow both those levels. And a second real quick question, and maybe the chief can address his first. $1,400 is what the town is looking at to charge for transportation. I wonder what the breakdown is, how you expect to collect the full $1,400. I know various insurance companies are going to come in at a reduced rate. Medicare is going to come in at a reduced rate. Who's going to pay the rest of that? Somebody who doesn't have any insurance, or out of somebody else's pocket, or out of taxes? That's my two questions.
Thank you. I'll let the chief address the training one first.
As far as the training goes, the initial courses that firefighters have to take is over 150 hours of training. And annually, by state statute, they have to provide documentation of at least 24 hours a year to maintain your certification. I can assure you we're way above and beyond that, as well as since 2000, when we became EMTs, we are required by the National Registry of EMTs to do the same amount of continuing education that any private service has to do, public service has to do. We're all held to the same standard. So we have to do that training annually. We get recertified every 2 years for EMS. As far as your billing question, that's going to come down to the select board setting the billing policy and procedures of how we bill for the town. So till then, I don't know. I can't really answer your question.
Yeah. Sure, I can try. That, as the chief mentioned, that decision for what billing would look like has not been made, and it won't be until unless and until the select board moves forward with the municipal option. Under the municipal option, the select board has the ability to set that policy. Under a contracted option, they do not. That's determined by the contractor. They decide what they're going to charge. The town would not have any say in that. But you, through your select board, under the municipal approach, would have the ability to influence that rate that's being charged.
Great, thank you. My name is Chris Newby. I'm not a resident of Brattleboro. I'm actually a resident of Hartford, Vermont. I'm here in the capacity of the President of Professional Firefighters of Vermont. More importantly, my capacity as a captain on the Hartford, Vermont Fire.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Oh, Jesus.
That's probably my fault. Sorry about that.
That's a little better. I thought I could yell loud enough, so. Yes, Chris Doobie, Hartford, Vermont. I'm the President of the Professional Firefighters of Vermont. More importantly, I got 31 plus years on the Hartford, Vermont Fire Department as a currently rank a captain. Hartford, Vermont is a municipal-based, fire department-based EMS service. I get that the emotions are running high, okay, but I'm going to give you some numbers, my perspective on it. Hartford's been doing it since I've been there, probably 40 plus years. In the state of Vermont, Burlington, South Burlington, Montpelier, Williston, Berrytown, Berry City, Hartford, Springfield. Windsor does it. They're not part of the professionals, but Windsor does it. Woodstock does it. So it's not a new concept. It works. The reason it works is that if you look at all the models out there, you got an army on duty 24/7. You got at least 6 or 8 members on that can respond to a call with a blink of an eye. Okay? Numerous studies have shown when it comes to response times, when we talked about, you know, NFPA 1710, they want you to respond anywhere in your community in 5 minutes or less. Fire departments can do that. Brattleboro's pretty close, right? 6 minutes? Okay? That makes a lot of difference. A 5-minute difference in response. When you're holding your breath, I'm going to ask you if you can hold your breath for 5 minutes. Okay? So these are things that matter when you start looking at stuff. I've heard about money. Where's it going to come from? There is a startup cost, absolutely. Okay? In Hartford, we do about 2,800 calls. Roughly 80% is EMS. I'm not strong on math without my phone, so I can't tell you the exact number. Out of that EMS, we generate, the most recent one was about $625,000, $650,000 of revenue back to the town to help offset the cost. I hear these issues out here all the time. Well, you know, you lose money. Doing 911 stuff, you do lose money. You're not out to make money. You're out there to provide a service. Okay? So again, I'm an advocate for the fire department-based EMS. I'm not going to take it too long. I know that emotions are charged. People have strong opinions. If you want to catch me outside, I'm happy to talk. But I can show you that after almost 32 years now, I've seen it work. It works in Hartford, across the river, Lebanon. Back in 2000, they took over EMS from Golden Cross. Golden Cross was a provider. Their fire department-based EMS, doing 4,400 calls. So it is a model that works. It's been proven nationally, like the chief said. The numbers I looked at, the fire department base was around 40%, and that was based on a 2011 study. The numbers are probably accurate because it has gone up in this state, at least 3 departments. So that's the trend that's going. You're paying for the help already. You're going to have 8 members on duty. Why not put them to work as they should be? So.
Thank you.
Hey, John.
Absolutely. So I'm a paramedic, so I have to meet the requirements of paramedic plus firefighter. We do it through shift trainings, okay? We can easily meet that criteria. Most firefighters, correct me if I'm wrong, but in my experience, even though departments like Rutland that don't do EMS transports, their members are still at least first responders, if not all EMTs. So many departments won't hire you unless you are an EMT. We provide on-shift training. And it comes down to contractual stuff. I don't want to get in the muds on that. Like with us, with our union, as a paramedic, they have to pay my 48 hours of continuing ed. But it can be done. You are cross-trained, okay? When we talk about it nationally, your biggest cities do fire department-based EMS transports. New York City, Chicago, Philadelphia, Baltimore City, LA City. I mean, you look all of Dallas. So it's not a new concept. If it's working, there's a reason why they're doing it, because it's probably one of the more cost-effective ones down the road. So,
thanks, Chris. We have a patient person up there in the mezzanine, and
My
turn to you now.
My name is Jane Findlay. I live in Brattleboro. I am absolutely thrilled to learn that the fire department does so many things. I think that is very interesting. However, it sounds to me like the fire department already has plenty to do. And it seems to me that right now you're in a situation, and I don't know a lot about the politics, nor do I care a lot about the politics, that you have an organization that for 40 years has been doing a job. You have a fire department in the town of Brattleboro that has been doing a fabulous job with all of the things that they were mentioned. And it seems to me that rescue is about saving people's lives and not about putting out fires. So you have an organization that is here specifically to save people's lives. It's already in place. It already exists. If I was a contractor and I was having a building built in my town and I sent out for bids, and somebody came to me and one of them said, I have to develop my team, I have to build it up, I have to do this, but I'm a great organization. And the other one comes to me and they say, we've been doing this for 40 years and people are living and surviving and talking about how they survive this, and my job is to save people's lives. And even if they cost more, if I was building my own house, I would go with the person who has the track record. And I think it's great that the fire department does everything that it does. It's wonderful. But you have an organization here already that does what it needs to keep people alive in the town. And that's what they do. They don't put out fires.
Thank you. Dick?
Thank you. First question I have, public service. How many of you people saw that wonderful 5-minute and 16-second NPR piece on the flower guy in Brattleboro? And if you haven't seen it, it's must-see TV. Hopefully when you get home, you got to promote yourself. It's been really interesting to listen to everybody. I want to give Peter Lynch kudos, because Peter Lynch spoke about both organizations and how good they are and how important they are. I wasn't surprised that everybody here speaking tonight was going to speak for the fire department, and if I was a department head, I would probably be there also. But that's not the issue. The issue, as I was listening to people speak, now, for those of you who don't know, I was a select board member for 8 years. I was a school board member for 4 years. So I've been pretty active in the community for about the last 32, 34 years. I've lived here for about 42. And Chief Howard, I have great respect for. Anybody who, the fire department and the police department, anybody who's willing to put their life at risk to save mine, I hold in high esteem. And I say that wholeheartedly. I think they're a valuable organization. I've seen them from the inside when I was on the board. But Chief Howard said something that kind of struck my ear. And here we are in 2023, and Brett Fire started answering EMS calls in 2000. And so the first question you've got to ask is, what took so long to get to this point to say, we want to take over rescue, or take over EMS? And then at the meeting last Tuesday, the town wanted to put out the narrative because they were tired of rescue controlling the narrative. And Sally, I think you, excuse me for calling you Sally, I apologize for that, Miss Nix. I think you alluded to 3 comments that you talked about. Was it 3? 4? 4 total. 4 total in 23 years. I think that's pretty good. 4 mishaps that you've had in 23 years. That's, when you think about that, I go, that couldn't have been repaired? And it's not that I don't think that these guys here can do the job. Anybody who's listened to me since April of 2021, I'm concerned about the money. And I've talked to a lot of people in the community, a lot of older people, and they're so concerned about their taxes. Nothing is going down. And when we had the safety meeting over at the rec department, I talked to the chair, Ian Goodnow, and he said, you know, I think it's good that we do this review to find out if we had a good deal to go through this process. And when I started looking at the numbers, I said, well, it used to cost us $248,000 a year for rescue, combined services. Even if we chose to go with a hybrid model, we're up over $400,000 from going through this process. Think about that. And we had AM&R who said $1.6 million for one ambulance. I almost swallowed my tongue when I read that. And we would be able to negotiate for ambulance number 2 at a higher rate. Thank you very much. And then when I look at these guys right here, and the comment about all the things that they do, these guys help me. Everybody at this table here has helped me. Anytime that I have asked, can you help me, they're there. I love them. I really do. My issue is, again, affordability. My bigger issue is how could this not have gotten worked out? Ego? I don't know. But everything can get worked out, and I'm disappointed that we're here, and I don't think it's going to get worked out. And I think there's going to be a lot of disappointed people in the community. The last thing I want to say is that I've heard response times quite a bit in the last year and a half. And as I've told you, I've been pretty involved in the community, and I think response times are important. But fear-mongering is not one of the things I'm a fan of. In all my years of being involved in the community, not one person, regardless of what job you have in the town, whether you're a fireman, a policeman, not one resident, not one select board member, not one town manager has ever uttered the word response times. Only up until we did this Trident report did I start hearing the word response times. All I know is when I call whoever comes, I don't care what uniform they have on, you get there and you do the job. And I know these guys can do the job, so it's got nothing to do with your ability to perform a service. And I know that rescue can do the job. So our community, whether we like it or not, and I'll finish right here, John, is torn apart by this. It really is. And I know that because I go out and talk to people. It's what I do. I like talking to people, regardless of where they are, who they are. And obviously, if you listen to that piece tonight, you're going to find out that I'm talking to some people at 3:30, and you're going to get a kick out of it. It's pretty sad, actually. So I'm not sure where we're going to end up. There's 5 people that are saying they have open minds, and they're going to look at this. But I hope that we can put our town back together, because there's going to be a lot of disappointed and hurt feelings when this decision is made, regardless of what side it goes. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dick. I appreciate that. Sally, did you want to address anything there? No. Okay. No, you're good. Okay. And I think we had Tim, and then a couple people over, you back there, and then here. And then you. Okay.
Hi, Tim Wessel. A lot of you know me. I was on the select board for 6 years. I served as chair during 2020, the COVID year. Not the most fun year to be chair. I just want to say that I want to celebrate something that has happened here today. And I think we can all agree on this. And no one has articulated this. That every single person in this room that has spoken, and I think every person in this room right now, agrees on something here. And I think we should celebrate it. That is that the folks standing around here with Brattleboro Fire, and the folks of Rescue Inc., and the folks of Golden Cross are all excellent service providers. And we have and will continue to trust each and every one of them with our lives in different situations. That's why this is so emotional for so many people. And that's why I said at the meeting the other day, I believe 90, maybe 80% of the people of Brattleboro truly don't care who comes to help them in a time of need. But they care that they are competent, respectful, talented, dedicated public servants. And whether it's Rescue Inc., whether it's Brat Fire, and whether it's Golden Cross, we've got that here, and we should celebrate that agreement that we have here in this room. You know, there's been a lot of talk about 14 months ago when there was a change. Well, that change brought us to this moment. This moment of considering Fire EMS as a model could not have happened if the previous select board that, yes, I served on, had not changed contracts. We would not be here because we literally did not get the data we needed to even consider the model. And you know what? Every single town has a right to consider a different model of EMS delivery service. 16 months ago, to go a little further back, right after the decision, I wrote a letter to the editor, and it made the rounds everywhere. And it was entitled, "What We Will Gain from Fire EMS," because I was an early supporter. Actually, it goes much further back, because when I first joined the board, I had a conversation with Lenny and Mike about why are we in this situation? That I thought that municipal fire EMS was a better model from the very beginning. But it wasn't top of mind, and select boards have a lot to do. So that's why it just simmered in the background for many, many years. But in that piece from 16 months ago, I pointed out the advantages going into the future for Brattleboro, which is efficiency, which is taking control of our future with the model of EMS. Having the taxpayers and the residents and the voters actually be responsible through their select board for hiring, firing, all kinds of decisions that if it's not going in the right direction, we would have much better control. Regardless of how good an outside service is, it is not your elected representative service. I continue to support Fire EMS. I think people should just get to the point where we let go a little bit of our own bubble of influence, and there's a lot of people who feel very strongly on both sides of this issue. I really think we have to look now, and the select board, their job now is to figure out, okay, this has happened, here's where we are, what's the best model for Brattleboro, Vermont? And I support Fire EMS.
Thank you, Jim. Right here.
Yeah, Jim Lynch, Brattleboro. I have a question. I'm not really sure who to ask it to. As far as the RFP is concerned, there were a few addendums that were put out. And I don't understand how we could expect to get an apples to apples costing for the Fire EMS model versus what we had 16 months ago for less than $300,000. One of the changes is the fact that we now, or the board would like the contractors to have to be bonded, which is generally only ever done in construction industry, which I don't remember. The other issue is, for some reason, dispatch costs went from, I can't remember the number that. $8.
$36.
And I think it's now $36. That's what was a requirement in the RFP. Another question I have is how can a participating bidder, which I believe is the chief, sit on the same board that's going to make the decision of what RFP is chosen? Now, I think I got that right, and if I don't, I apologize. But how does an RFP get written like that, and anybody expect there to be an apples-to-apples costing? I mean, Rescue Inc.'s cost right now is still going to be under $300,000 if we remove the bonding issue, put the dispatch costs back down to where they were. I don't understand what was thought, and I'm wondering if anybody can explain that.
Yes, the gentleman behind you can make an attempt at that. Right behind you.
Sorry.
Good evening. I'll try and do my best to address your concerns. I know you raised a number of them. In no particular order, the fire department was not really involved in evaluating the RFP responses. There was a evaluation committee that was composed of myself, John Potter, and the finance director, Kimberly Frost. So for the most part, I believe it's true that the fire department saw the proposals the same time the public did. Your question about the addendum. In my experience, in putting out requests for proposals, the process of addendum are very common and very, very normal. They are a regular part of the sort of public bidding process. Usually what happens is, in fact, what happened this time, that some of the folks who are proposing a bid have a question. And so our job is to answer those questions. And sometimes those questions are not, super simple. They're more complicated. And so they lead to a discussion, and it leads to, in our case, the town clarifying certain things and making sure that that gets out to all the potential bidders so that everybody who is submitting a proposal has access to the same information. So that is what was going on there. The proposal from Rescue Inc. is higher than it had been in previous years. In fiscal 22, I believe the contract value was something like $285. The proposal that was submitted and received by the town on August 29th was somewhere in the $460,000 range. The performance bond, which is something we have in other contracts as well, it was about $20,000. So did it contribute to cost? It did. Did it contribute significantly? I would say probably not.
But does the town have to do that?
Hold on, let's let him answer, and then if you want to follow up.
I would say the town is accountable to the 5-member elected select board. There really isn't a need for a performance bond in that case. That's just my opinion. And the last thing I would say would be about the dispatch revenue. It's true that we took a look at, well, what should we be charging for dispatch? And it was a little eye-opening to me to recognize that there's actually a market for that type of service. We're not the only option. And what we set out to do was to try and price our service to be enticing, to be used. And the proposal that we received was based on, I believe, the idea of using Southwest New Hampshire Mutual Aid and not Brattleboro Dispatch.
Thank you. I think right here we had somebody, Ryu, or, yeah. You.
How's that? Okay.
Good.
I'm Ron Hubbard. I worked for the town of Brattleboro at the fire department for 37 years. And I don't live in Brattleboro, I live in Dummerston. And I first want to address the comment that lady made, that she wants somebody who's going to save a life. Well, I assure you, when I was crawling into a burning building, my first thought was to save a life. And when I was worming my way through a destroyed car to cut a brake pedal that was pinning somebody's leg, I was doing that to save a life. So I'll tell you right now, for any of you folks who are questioning, all of these men and women from the Brattleboro Fire Department, their first thought is to save a life. And I hear this fear-mongering stuff. Yeah, I've been hearing the fear-mongering over here from Kate about the money. Well, this particular model works in hundreds and hundreds of cities and towns across this nation. What makes Brattleboro so different that it won't work here? Really, what? I don't think there's anything that makes Brattleboro. Brattleboro is a unique town. I love Brattleboro. Just because I don't live in Brattleboro doesn't mean I don't love it. And I don't love the citizens. I put you guys first for 37 years. And if you get a chance to crawl into a burning building, then you tell me that you're not putting that person ahead of your own life. I was, believe me, and so do all of these guys up here and these guys here. So I'm a little shaky right now. That comment up there really hit home. It was a slap right in the face. It was a slap in the face.
Okay, thank you.
So, anyways, point is being, folks, the model works. Yeah, you're going to pay no matter who you get for your service, private or public. You're going to pay no matter what. So, you know, you might as well go with a service that you know is going to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Back here.
Hi, my name is Peggy Frazee. I never talk in public. But this is too important to not talk in public. And I hope other people stand up and say what their opinions are as well. I came into this issue having read about it in the paper, scanning articles and letters to the editor, etc. But until last night, when I found out about this meeting tonight, I hadn't decided to take a personal step. And I made a lot of phone calls this morning. I got a lot of answering machines, but then those people did show up this evening. So I'm happy about that. And I went door to door. I live on Bonnievale Road, Brattleboro side. And I went door to door and filled a sheet of people who were supporting keeping rescue for now. You know, it came on us with not a lot of specification, without a lot of advanced knowledge about it, and we haven't been educated about it still, by and large. On my sheet of paper, every single person signed, well, of course they signed it, but no door I went to, there was no one who didn't want to sign. 2 people declined to sign because they didn't feel they had enough information. So, and that was a good, honest answer from them. The fire department has been great for me, and many people on Bonnievale Road owe a debt of gratitude to the fire department and the police department. But today, over and over again, what would we do without rescue? What are the fuel bills going to be? The gas bills for the fire trucks going up and down our road. What were the other issues? The speed with which rescue got to people, and they were very, very happy with the service and wanted it to continue. So again, I'm wondering if there's other people here who would want to stand up
Thank you.
and say their opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Right here.
Hi, Kevin Kennedy from Brattleboro. Like probably a lot of people here, until a couple of years ago, I didn't really follow the relationship between rescue and the fire department. I didn't really understand. I had no idea what municipal EMS even meant until, everything started to happen. But something that was very helpful and informative to me was hearing the fire chiefs last week from Springfield and South Burlington talk about the challenges that were mentioned earlier tonight about staffing, talk about challenges with finding ambulances. And yet both of them strongly recommended that Brattleboro go with a fire-based EMS service because of the accountability that they know that the town has full control over the service. We all have a huge amount of respect for rescue. But what if we didn't? What if something happened? I don't know what control the town has to address those problems that they might have with rescue. With Brattleboro Fire Department running EMS, first of all, we have one of the most respected departments in the state that has proven itself over the past 14 months continuing to run our EMS. But second of all, there's the accountability, where if there is a problem, the town can work with the fire department to work through that problem because it's part of the town. And when it comes to the initial cost, that is a big initial cost. But I think of that as an investment in our safety and our security and our peace of mind. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to say it's 8:25 right now. I want to be respectful of people's time, but I also want to hear from anyone that wants to speak. If there are others that want to speak, maybe let's see your hands now. And we got one there. Okay, should we go with one more and then we'll wrap up with next steps? Oh, did I see another? Oh, yeah, right here.
Good evening. Pierre Landry, Brattleboro. Again, I'd like to thank for a great turnout. I thought it was a fabulous turnout. I was happy to see rescue, fire here, town staff. Great presentations. One of the things, I mean, not that it matters a lot, but I was sort of surprised at how few people actually live in town that work here. I was at the meeting Tuesday night and listened to the fire chiefs give their presentations, and they both run Fire-EMS. And they also talked a lot about staffing issues, how understaffed they are, how very difficult it is to hire staff. And if you're looking to hire a paramedic, just forget about it. It's not going to happen. One of the other big takeaways that they talked about, they did say that the Fire-EMS works in their towns, and both of them relied heavily on mutual aid. South Burlington Fire Chief basically said that between South Burlington and Burlington, and I think it was, I don't know if it was Williston or Winooski, they're in each other's towns all the time. That's how they survive. And the fire chief from Springfield basically said, we're a single ambulance operation, so we have to rely on mutual aid. In Brattleboro, we have a unique situation. We have arguably the best EMS service right in our town. And the two fire chiefs that presented Tuesday night said that. Far and above any other EMS service in the state of Vermont. Rescue Inc. is it. They provide excellent service, excellent training. They have training facilities. They did all the COVID work for the town, for the community, multiple towns. It's just something you can't ignore. I lost my other point that I wanted to mention. Hiring was one. Oh, and one of the other big things they said the reason that they have a Fire-EMS system, and I'm sure it works. I know it works, but it was what the people wanted. That was the reason they have Fire-EMS. And I'm sure it will work in this town. But I'm also sure it's going to be very expensive. The startup costs are enormous, and the costs year after year are only going to go up. People pay a lot of tax in Brattleboro, and I think it's probably one of the highest taxed towns in the state of Vermont. People can't afford to be paying more. And to say that it's not going to cost taxpayers more money, I think is just craziness. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and really thank everyone. Are you sure? Are you sure, really? Okay, I'm fine. I'm fine with that, Drew, if you want to talk, but I would. Thank you.
My comments are going to be very short. Drew Hazelton, Chief of Rescue Inc. I speak on behalf of the membership of Rescue Inc. and wanted to make sure that the community here knows that we are ready to serve. We want to take care of the people of Brattleboro. We served this community for 56 years. We are also more than willing to work out whatever challenges exist. That's part of our proposal, and I just want to make sure that we go on the record tonight saying that we are here in town, we're staying here in town, we're not going anywhere, and we'll still be here when this is over.
Great, thank you. Hey, and thanks everybody tonight. This is
Just real quick, Carol McManus of
Okay.
Brattleboro. I really need to ask this question. Are you ready to work with, because I like this working together thing, are you ready to step up to the plate and talk about figuring it out and working together, maybe nicely in the sandbox? That's it.
Okay, let's talk about next steps. And so right now, town staff will be pulling together a recommendation to the select board. This will be published on Friday in advance of Tuesday's meeting. On Tuesday, September 19th, the select board will be asked to consider a motion regarding the fire EMS transition. If you have further thoughts, I encourage you to reach out directly to select board members this week and next, and their contact info is all on the website. That is pretty much the next steps on this. I really thank you all again. I thank all the town staff, the firefighters, the rescue staff, everyone who spoke tonight, and everyone who listened and considered this. I know there was I saw a lot of wheels turning, and I really appreciate that. I think it's important that we, listen carefully to what everyone has to say to help formulate what you're thinking there and advise the select board. So thank you all. Go in peace, and we will see you around.